Hello guys, Royal Bet One here, coming at you with some actual real important news in the game. It seems Master Rule 2020 is going to, well, possibly for us as well, have more changes in the game than we originally expected. There's going to be, in the OCG, this will take first on the 1st of April, 2020 as well, but apparently it looks like we will probably be getting this as well, just like the OCG will. So I wanted to kind of cover this to see the rules that are being changed and also discuss them with you lot as well. So, basically, Konami are making new rules. They're changing more than just the extra deck mechanics and where they go. And we're going to kind of read these and see what they do. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, first one, regarding the activation of monster effects for monsters returned to the deck or the extra deck face down. Unless it is specifically referred in the text, monsters that are returned to the deck and the extra deck face down cannot activate their effects. This includes mandatory effects. Oh, the example of this is Old Way. If resolving Absolute Zero is returned to the extra deck by compulsory evacuation device, its effect destroys all monsters your opponent controls. Not bad, Absolute Zero. Oh, my boy. New way of resolving it. If Absolute Zero is returned to the extra deck by compulsory evacuation device, its effects to destroy all monsters your opponent controls will not activate. You see, I know why this is a thing, and I know why they did this, because it's the same fault mentality as if you're banishing something face down and you're returning something to the deck and it can't activate its effect. Whenever a mandatory effect or anything like that was returned to the deck, or if something's banished face down, it will not gain their effects. And they're changing this so basically all face down areas cannot activate their effects, including the extra deck, because the extra deck has always been able to use their face down effects if they left the board. And we'll return to the extra deck. Now, am I happy with this? No, I hate this because it means stuff like Mask Chain, form change and stuff with Absolute Zero is absolutely pointless now. And they hurt my boy. They hurt my boy Ab-Zero. Konami, you done it, but I know why this had to happen, because if it was a thing that it just confuses people how, you can't activate face down banishment cards, and you can't activate a card when it's returned to the main deck, but for some reason you can activate Absolute Zero when it's returned to the extra deck. So this is something I full on understand why they're changing this, and it makes sense for why they're changing this as well. So from a judge standpoint, I get why they're doing it. It just makes things a lot easier for everyone to understand. But from my Absolute Zero standpoint, he's hurt bad, boys. He's hurt bad. But yeah, I full on understand why they've done this, and it makes complete sense to me why. So yeah, if you return Absolute Zero to the extra deck now, you can't activate its mandatory effect. Next one though. Regarding the activation of card effects that move away from their activation location before their effects activate. Okay. In card context, in card text, cards refer to their effect activation requirements as well as their effect activation location. For example, if it is an effect that activates when the monster itself is normal summoned, it activates on the field. If it is a trap card whose effect is activated, if it is sent to the graveyard, it activates in the graveyard. If a card moves location from its activation location to a different location before its effect activates, its effect cannot be activated, including mandatory effects. Wait, so they're just making it the American ruling now? Okay. Example. If Sangan is tributed to activate Card Crush Virus and DD Crow is activated in a chain to banish Sangan from the graveyard, Sangan activates its effects after this card chain is resolving. In this case, Sangan is treated as an activated effect in the graveyard. New way of resolving it, Sangan is tributed by Cross Card Virus, DD Crow is activated in a new chain, Sangan is banished from the graveyard, Sangan does not activate its effect after the chain is done resolving. See, now this is basically the way I look at this. This is the same as the Deadpool the Haunted situation in America and the EU and everywhere else. They're basically saying now, if you MST if you go MST, they chain Call of the Haunted and they summon back the Tetanite, and then the Deneb leaves the board because of the MST destroys it. Basically, just like in the America, you can't use the Deneb's effect. And this is the same with like what it's just said. If you've discarded something for cost or sent something to graveyard for cost via an effect that would activate, such as a Shadow Mist or anything that would when it activates its grave, like a Burning Abyss, and then you decrow that before its activation can activate, then essentially its activation cannot happen and it won't be able to resolve. So that's basically how I'm looking at this. And I believe that is the correct way to look at it. So if your opponent sends a Graph as cost, you chain DD Crow to the cost, banishing the Graph. The Graph will no longer activate because it's not in the graveyard and cannot activate. Now, I personally feel like this is wrong. This is something that they're doing, but I know we have to follow. But I feel like Konami are just basically dumbing down the rules a bit with that one, and I don't really like it. But that's basically what it is. If you use MST, chaining 1, and then Call of Haunted, chaining 2, summon back a Tellarknight, Tellarknight goes grave. It won't be able to activate its great effect because it wasn't on the field on the end of the activate. And same with the of course, you just got a Graph, DD Crow, banish the Graph before it can activate. It cannot activate because it's not in the graveyard. So that's basically what it is. I don't like how they're doing this because they're basically making the world the American rulings now, but I kind of get why they're doing it at the same time. Like, it's to dumb down the game a bit to make it a bit easier for everyone. All right. Regarding the normal or special summon of a monster relations to card effects that mentioned during the turn you activate this card such effect. Okay. Some cards will have the text such as during the turn you activate this effect, you cannot special summon monsters except blank monsters. Or during the turn you activate this effect, you cannot special summon monsters except with this card's effect, which have the activation requirements for whether or not you summoned certain monsters during the turn. Cards with this text will not check whether or not the summoning of monsters described in the text was successful for their activation requirements. Okay. Example of this. Resolving this way. You activate Rage of Blue Eyes, Rage with Eyes of Blue. During the turn, you summon your Maiden with Eyes of Blue, was negated by Solemn Judgment. Okay, so you can't activate the Rage of Eyes of Blue, but the new way of doing it is, if you activate Rage of Eyes of Blue, during the turn, you normal summon Maiden in Solemn Judgment, you can activate that card now. So the way I'm seeing this is, if you say you've already normal summoned, you summoned a Pancrotrops, and then you get Solemn Judgment, and this is a hero correlation, and you want to make Cross Crusader down the line. Because Cross Crusader says you can only activate his effect if you have only summoned, you cannot summon anything but heroes that turn, the turn you activate its effect. Because the Pancrotrops was negated, now you can activate that Cross Crusader's effect because its effect, the summon of the Pancrotrops was negated, and the way they used to do it was if you attempted to summon something else, you weren't able to activate these effects that required you to only be able to have summoned these types of cards on that turn. So this is basically saying your summon was negated, it didn't actually happen, and so you're able to activate these cards that would say if you can only play these specific cards on that turn. I understand fully why they're doing this because it was kind of dumb how if your summon was negated and you never even made the card never hit the board, you were then unable to use some cards and effects just for that reason alone. And I feel like this is actually the correct way to do things, Yu-Gi-Oh, because it makes things easier. As I said, these rules are basically dumbing down the game a bit, which is good. It's a good thing for new players and all of that. But at the same time, it's the dumbing down that's going to make it less skillful, I guess, but at the same time, it will still be Yu-Gi-Oh as we know it. But I understand why they're doing this because this actually one makes sense to me. As something that's never been summoned, okay, so I should be able to use that effect down the line as well again. It makes sense to me. It makes sense, and that's kind of what it does. It says, "Oh, you've summoned something that's been negated. Oh, you have this effect that can only be used if you've only met those requirements of that effect. Well, you can use it." That's basically what this is doing, and I feel like that is correct. So regarding the special summon of monsters that mention the card can only be special summoned once per turn. Okay, this is something I'm interested. Certain cards have the text you can only special summon blank once per turn, which means that you can only special summon cards with that name one time during this entire turn. Cards with this text will now only count the summons if the summon of a monster with that name was successfully summoned during the turn. Alright. So, example of this. If your high-speed Roid Chambara synchro summon was negated by Solemn Judgment during this turn, you cannot try to special synchro summon high-speed Chambara or try to use any other type of card effect to special summon it for the rest of this turn. New way of looking at this, if it's negated, you can summon it again. Right. Now, this brings me back to rulings that I had when Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon first came out. Where if my opponent tried to summon Blue Eyes Alternative and I Solemn Striked it, or Solemn Warning it or anything like that, then would you be able to summon it again? Back then, it was a no, because if you had already attempted to summon said Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon via its effect. But this is basically saying now, oh, the summon was negated, it never occurred, it couldn't have occurred, so you can now attempt to summon it again. I like this because it's the same as this. They're basically saying, oh, the summon was never happened. It never happened because it was negated. So guess what? You are allowed to summon it again. This is the type of thing that they're doing, and I'm really happy with this because it makes sense for this kind of thing to happen. If you're unable to summon something, has been negated and you didn't successfully summon it, then the summon never happened. So something like this makes sense to me because it means that it's the correct way most people would think about it. This is basically how everyone would think about it. Oh, the summon never happened, so I should be able to summon it again. That's what this does. That is a good thing they're doing here. Same with this. It's the same thing. They're doing a good thing. Okay, and the last change from the OCG is getting, and we might get an announcement in a few days or so. Regarding continuous trap cards, special summon themselves to a monster zone by their own effect. Wait, so trap monsters? So continuous trap cards, such as Embodiment of Apopus, which has the effect special summon this card as a normal trap. Reptile, Earth effect, yada yada. This card is also a trap card, still a trap that can special summon themselves to the monster zone. That can special summon themselves to the monster zone will now free up the spell and trap zone they were placed in. Wait. So, old way, you have 5 cards set in your spell and trap card zone. You activate one of them, which is an Embodiment of Purpose. So the spell and trap card zone that Embodiment of Purpose was in before cannot be used, so you cannot set a normal card in your spell and trap card zone. Okay, new way. Which is Embodiment of Purpose. Because the card of Embodiment of Purpose is now in the monster zone, the spell and trap card zone it was in before, is now empty and available for use. Therefore, you can now set spell and trap cards in your spell and trap card zone before it was in the before. So, wait. This... Okay, first of all, I get what this is saying. Basically, when you had a trap monster that was still a trap, it took up that main monster, it took up that spell and trap card zone. You weren't able to use that spell and trap card zone. And this is saying now that you can use that spell and trap card zone. But the thing that I'm looking at here is you got 5 set cards, and you activate Book of Eclipse, and you have trap monsters. Where do they go? Do they go to the graveyard? Do they go? I would assume they go to the graveyard because they have nowhere to go, like kaijus. But that's something I want clarification on. I believe like they might be just set on the board, but they're still trap cards, which is the thing. So, like, they're still trap cards, so they should go back to the spell and trap cards. They're unable to go to the spell and trap cards, so they would go to the graveyard. But at the same time, because of their monsters also, because they're trap monsters, would they stay on the board? Huh. That's an annoying one for me. Like, I see what Konami are doing here. Again, it's making Yu-Gi-Oh easier for new players and stuff. And I understand that, and I get why they're doing it because of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not the simplest of games, and it clearly isn't made for children the way the game has been made out. But at the same time, looking at this one ruling, this one change, there are so many variables that could go into account. Like, Book of Moon, a trap with 5 back row on the board. Does it just stay on the board set? Does it go to the graveyard? Personally, I would say it goes to the graveyard because the card is still a trap card. But again, it's also a monster at the time, so would it just stay on the board? Because it no longer has a zone to return to, which was the whole point of if it was set, it would go back to that trap card. Like that was always the point, the whole reason that was a thing. I'm pretty sure because like then that card would go straight back to the spam trap card zone, and there would be no drop on. But now that this is a thing, I would assume it goes to the graveyard because the card is still a trap. It it's also still a trap, but at the same time, it's a monster. So if it's set, would it stay on the board? I'm personally going to go with the ruling that would go to the graveyard because it has nowhere to return to. But that's something I would like clarification on in general. That's something I'm kind of interested in and where to see where they would go. But guys, that is all the actual changes in the game. Like I'm happy with some of these, like the changes to the summoning thing, where if your summon's completely negated, you can then summon another copy of that card if it said someone return, or it said you can only summon it, or if you have something else that turn, you're unable to fulfill requirements of a card. I'm very happy with that. This this I feel like is just dumbing Yu-Gi-Oh down, which I don't like at all. I feel like they're going towards to the American text rulings, where it's like, why would you do that? What's the point of it? Why are you making it American when literally the whole rest of the world use just normal ruling, as in it was sent to the graveyard, it's been summoned to the board, so I get the effect. Um, Stuff like that. The absolute zero, like this ruling right here, to be completely honest, I understand why this had to happen because, like, if something's banished face down or if something is deck, their mandatory effects could not activate. So it made sense that they were unable to activate, but going to the extra deck face down, it makes sense as well because it's a face down card. It's no longer represented on the board. But I get why they did it. I'm just not happy because they hit my boy Absolute Zero and they had no reason to, but I understand why they did it. It makes sense. It's something that should have happened, been that way at the beginning. But hey, I'm just be a bit salty about that one. But guys, these are the revisions that are going to be happening in April 1st in the OCG. Now we might be getting these, we might not be getting these. This all depends on what Konami Europe and stuff choose to do. I would full on assume that we would get these as well, just so the whole globe has all the same rulings. Like the OCG in America are not different like everywhere else, because like we've already always gone by the OCG rulings, and now they're changing. So I'd assume that our rulings would change to follow suit with theirs. Um, but yeah, those are all the changes. I think a lot of these are good. I think some of them are annoying, and kind of make some cards more broken than others. Like Didi Crow is a lot better now. Shark Cannon is a lot better now as well, and Sky Striker cards. Like anything that vanishes from grave. Um, Stuff like MST on like Call of the Haunted and stuff is now really strong as well. But yeah, that's just my thoughts in general about this. Tell me what your thoughts on these new revisions are in the comments below. Do you think we'll get them? Do you think we won't get them? Do you think we're gonna like follow suit with the OCG? I would full on assume we would. But tell me your thoughts in the comments below if you're in. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the description for all the information about like how to support me if you want. I don't normally ask, but this is just hey, if you want to support, it's down there. Just check out my Twitch where I do video games and stuff, streaming, my team, all of that stuff in the description below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Let's see if these revisions come to the TCG. I'll actually be kind of interested to see if they do. But yeah, guys, Royal Bat One signing out. I will see you all in the next one.